Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Azabi here, back again with Kuroko no Basket Season 1. We are on episode 21, and in the last couple of episodes, we got introduced to a new member of the team. Now, technically, he is not a new member of the team. In fact, he's the oldest member of the team, because he's the one that created the team to begin with. But I guess for the sake of the show, and, he's only just been introduced, technically, it's like he's a new member of the team. So, yeah, also, he's meant to be really good, you know what I mean? Like, he was standing up to Kagami a bit, and also the fact he was wearing indoor shoes and not actual, trainers. It can put him off a bit, and he's been out for like a very long time. So you've got to take all of those little things into account, and also considering what other team members like from Shotoku were saying, that if he hadn't got injured, they may have even Shotoku may have even lost against them in the last Inter High. So because of that, yeah, he's definitely a danger, and I'm excited to have him on our team. I mean, the thing is, even though he's only been in 2 episodes, he's actually pushing for up there as one of my favorite characters already, because I just like the way that he goes about things. Like, he's very light-hearted in nature, and I think he puts a lot of that on as almost like a front for what he's actually doing. So in a way, it's like he's very sly or sneaky, but not in a negative way, because he's doing it to... I think he's doing it to keep a light-hearted nature around the team as a whole. But, he's always doing it with a goal in mind. So, obviously, last episode, it was about getting Kuroko to change up his style, so that he wouldn't be just transfixed on this whole idea about his way of basketball and staying as that. You know what I mean? Kuroko had this whole image in his head of basketball and everything like that, but because he was thinking that way, he was limiting himself, and therefore he wasn't improving or helping improve the team. And the thing is, as soon as Kiyoshi came in, he was already trying to figure out how the team can improve. You know what I mean? By obviously getting that one-on-one with Kagami, I feel was a way for Kiyoshi to sort of have a look at and see what Kagami is capable of and everything, and obviously on the other side of that with Kuroko and the first year match that he had put on, so that he could see basically where the improvements need to come from, and he's got a good eye as well. He's very smart. I feel because he was the one that picked up the fact that Kuroko was the one that would be more considered a generation of miracles, while everyone else was thinking it was straight up Kagami, and everything like that, So, yeah, I mean, in the space of 2 episodes, considering what Kiyoshi has done, he brings something to the team which I think was actually lacking from the team. And I don't know if it was just because of the way that the story has been told up until this point, because it's not like Haikyuu where there is... It might seem harsh to say, filler. I'm not calling it actually filler. I'm talking about Haikyuu now, by the way. But there's a lot of time in between matches, I should say. A lot of time with the characters. So you get a lot of character dynamics in Haikyuu that each member of Karasuno have their own individual quirks and everything like that, and you understand them all for that reason. The way that they obviously interact with each other, you get a grasp of that, of all the characters in Karasuno and how they play off each other. Whereas with Kuroko no Basket, it just seems because we've been basically hoisted into the deep end with just playing basketball the whole time, we haven't really had much time away from matches or anything like that where we can actually get a sense of some of the characters, and in particularly I'm talking about the the senpais, the second years. I guess Hyuga's gotten some, but I feel in terms of Izuki and Mitobe is hard because he doesn't talk. You know what I mean? But he's sort of I suppose Mitobe could be considered the sensible one, the reliable one, and everything like that. I suppose Kogane's got his very sort of jokey, childish sense of humor thing going on. So there is a bit, but I feel Kiyoshi's that, almost what you could consider a third year if Seirin had a third year. I think I said that actually in the last couple of episodes. But yeah. Anyway, I'm really really rabbiting on. So we're going to get into episode 21 and see what we get. But yeah, I mean, Kuroko has actually decided that he is going to become the best in Japan himself, so that means he can improve himself, and because of that, improve the team. So yeah, we don't have to get anything else. We're going to get in episode 21. If you do want to go watch the actual reaction, link is in the description below to the 10-minute version. There's also the link to the full length down there as well. If you do want to watch these in full and not just the 10-minute version, then the offer is there for you. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get in episode 21 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 21. Right, so we are into the training camp portion of the sports anime, which, tends to be a thing that happens, well, of course, because obviously we need to improve. And not only are we doing one, we're doing two. So, at the very beginning of the episode, before it was revealed that we're just doing 2 training camps, I said during the reaction, I don't know if it'll be in the 10-minute version, but I mentioned that I think it would be better to train, if you had to choose one or the other, I think it'd be better to train in the mountains. Because obviously not lack of air, but, there's a lot less oxygen in the, the higher reaches of the mountains and everything like that. So it would improve your capacity, first and foremost. So it would help with stamina and fitness and everything like that. And I just feel like that would probably be the better place to train. Specifically for like anything that involves physical activity, anything like that, But the fact that we're doing both, I mean, what can I say about that? The one thing that obviously I would have considered, they did. So it makes sense that they would do beach basketball. It didn't really matter that they were playing basketball. I suppose it does sort of give them that sort of like that feeling that when they eventually did get back onto solid ground, that they felt like, oh my god, like this is so much easier. And obviously, I made the comparison to, wearing weights while you train, so that when you take them off, you feel a hell of a lot lighter, and you feel the benefits a hell of a lot more. So it's very like, it's the equivalent essentially of that. But a lot of it obviously is put down to like the way that you stand. If you're flat-footed, generally you don't want to be. You want to be on the sort of like the balls of your feet, just by so that you're able to maneuver a hell of a lot quicker. You don't really want to be flat-footed. And as for the case for like Kagami jumping and everything like that, of course it was going to be absolutely horrible on sand. Because you can't get all the sand is just coming away. You can't get a sort of grasp, a grip on sand at all, you know what I mean? So you'd never be able to jump as high or anything like that. But it just means that because you're trying so hard to replicate something that you do on solid ground on the beach, by the time you get back to solid ground, everything just feels a hell of a lot more easier. And it's beginning to make me wonder if that is like going to have an effect on Kagami in jumping even higher. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, because of the physical limitations. I mean, there is a point where there's no way that he's going to be able to jump like much higher than that. But I feel like he'll be able to jump at least a bit higher. But I think the main thing about specifically this episode is the fact of Kagami like training his body to a point that he can jump more times as opposed to jumping higher. If he can jump a little bit higher whilst being able to jump more times than he usually can, and I'm talking about those super jumps obviously, then that's just a win-win there, like automatically, you know what I mean? And I mean, I guess we'll keep on the topic of Kagami, specifically obviously towards the latter half of the episode, where Rico didn't want him joining in the practice, and I think I called it out just in time, because I think I was talking about how it could serve two purposes of either it's giving Kiyoshi time to embed himself within the team in an actual match, so you can because that means that Rico can obviously get a grasp of how Kiyoshi's going to play alongside Kuroko, for example, and him obviously coming back, having a bit of match practice obviously helps, but then obviously on the other side, Kagami isn't going to benefit from just playing a practice match, you know what I mean? For him, it's mainly about strengthening his body, like I said, to be able to, harness all of that energy and put it into as many jumps, super jumps, as he can possibly have throughout a match. And the fact is, he went overboard and even extra. I wouldn't say overboard because, that would make me think that he's done it too much. But at the end of the day, you can't give him wrong for that. I mean, he just did extra just because in Kagami's mind, I know that he knows. Like, we know that he is got this in his head that this is classed as training, regardless. I mean, I don't know how fucking, because if he's had to come back, if he's had to go grab a can, come back and keep doing that, that's a lot. That's a lot of running. I mean, in terms of miles, bloody hell, man. How long? How? What was it that Rico said? Like, what was the length? Did she say like 500 meters or something? I think she did, didn't she? You know what I mean? He's ran quite a way, pretty much non-stop, I would say. But yeah, I mean, crazy. But yeah, he was doing it obviously until the nighttime where he couldn't even get a bath. So yeah, that kind of sucks for him. But yeah, and he even got Shotoku drinks. So listen, right? Like, the thing is, like, with Kagami, obviously he has this kind of tendency to overheat, let's say, and obviously lash out. But obviously underneath he has that very kind, he's a good person at heart, he really is. We've learned that over the past couple episodes. So yeah, really, really cool. So what else? Yeah, so I like the little talk with Kiyoshi and Rico when they were in like the corridor area and whatnot, and Rico was basically saying, why didn't you become a captain? She basically said, like, I hated how you think you know everything kind of thing. And I don't think it's that he knows everything. I think he's just very well versed in like basketball and like where to go. It's like he really works as sort of like an advisor / player, I mean, he says that obviously, I like the fact that he talked about it as, Hyuga, like, works better as the captain because he pushes and Rico pulls. You know what I mean? So it's never all in favor of like just one way all of the time. You know what I mean? You can find a middle ground and find the best route to something. With those two sort of at the helm. And yet, even though Kiyoshi isn't actually a captain or a coach or anything like that, he's still the one that, like, they can find sort of like solace in and get advice from. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like Kiyoshi. Like, I just like him being there. Like, he's really giving, like, he's given this team like just like a sense of almost like stability in a way, you know what I mean? Like, he's very much like the older brother of the group. And I don't know, I just like his dynamic, because like, if he's on the court, you can see that like that's where he doesn't have the lightheartedness like nature anymore, and like he just turns it on and like becomes serious and everything like that. But I just like the dynamic that he really adds to the group. I honestly, I can kind of just see him become my favorite character, to be honest, because I really like the way that he interacts with people. But yeah, he was talking about obviously establishing a style, which makes sense, because realistically, Serene doesn't really have one. Like, they're an offensive team, and that's kind of just like their thing, but they don't really have, I guess, a style to play towards. It's kind of just like, pass it to whoever's in space, and then more than likely give it to Kagami to score a dunk, or if Hyuga's open, give it to him to score a 3-pointer. And other than that, like, there's not really much in terms of style or a style that they have. And having, I like that he was talking about individuals establishing like their role, right, and working specifically like on their role, especially coming from him, who obviously originally is a point guard, and ended up like becoming a center. It's going to be interesting to see how he becomes, like, I don't know which role, for example, he's going to really take. Again, like, you know, I've said these in the last few episodes as he's been here, but like, having him and Kagami on the same team, like actually playing at the same time, surely would be really, really beneficial. You know, and we know that Kagami's a power forward, and that's his role. So he's like, you'd imagine that Kagami's obviously the one that's going to be closest to the opponent's hoop, right? And then, I mean, that's the thing though, with Kiyoshi being a center, Kiyoshi described it as a center's normally the one that's under the hoop. So if there's a rebound on, he'll be the one to jump up for it and get the rebound in. So I guess in terms of like a power forward and a center, they actually do occupy the same space. But what's stopping him from being a point guard? You know what I mean? Like, because remember, like at this time, like when they were talking about it, the last Inter High, they were talking about it because like Kiyoshi is almost like, you know, they didn't really have a out and out point scorer, like anybody like really up front, getting those like points when they need them. And so like in a way it kind of made sense for him to go there, and obviously being the center as the taller one, it kind of made sense there as well. But now that you've got Kagami up there, it, you know, I feel like you can really move Kiyoshi back. But then again, though, like, can we really afford to lose Izuki's eagle eye there, though, at those points? I don't know. And I guess that's the hard part of choosing, like, who goes where and everything like that, you know what I mean? And like I've said before, it's changing up styles during a match. If one style isn't working, then maybe you can't, like, there can be a point where they change it up a bit and have both of them on the court at the same time, you know, and seeing how that works. You know what I mean? It's not something that's obviously cemented. It's things that you can obviously change around, and maybe that can be their style, where they are very fluid in their sort of strategies and tactics and everything, and how, you know, who, like, what personnel they have on the court at each time. Maybe that can be their thing. I mean, in a similar sort of vein. And, you know, I bring up Haikyuu constantly, but, I mean, it makes sense because it's the one sports anime that I've watched that, you know, they're very obviously similar. And, you know, a lot of sports, even in the real world, they all take place, obviously, with, obviously, humans doing, you know, physical activities and everything, and things can cross over to another, so it makes sense to compare them. But in Haikyuu, Karasuno is the team that, you know, they do everything. You know what I mean? They take players from other teams and use it themselves in their own way. So similarly, you can have it so that Serene could be that one that uses, you know, their style is to be fluid, and, you know, they can change it up at will, kind of thing. So, you know, and you've got Riko, who's a great coach, and she sees things way in advance. You know, she knows what to do, and she's you know, she's very clever at that. So she may not be good at cooking, right? But she's a great coach, right? So that's what matters. So yeah, we've got that. So yeah, really, really cool. And yeah, I'm guessing that episode 22 will be the mountains, I suppose. So like, obviously the second training camp. Or we could just carry on with the beach. Who knows? But yeah, I like the fact that like Kagami just literally does what Riko says. Like some episodes back when she told him to walk on his hands all the way to like I can't remember where he was going, but he ended up just walking on his hands. You know what I mean? He doesn't question it at all. You know, so Yeah, that's really, really cool. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I've got. So yeah, again, really, really cool. And yeah, can't wait for the next one. So that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And I also have a Patreon page as well. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, like early access for $5 a month. That means you can get access to shows a week early. So obviously episode 22 will be available for the public along with this episode. So if you do want to get access to episode 23 and 24, although actually I think there's a 22.5, which somebody told me that's actually it can sort of work as like an OVA, and I think it takes place with Kisei. So you know, we'll see what I'll do about that. I mean, I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna react to it anyway. But if it ends up being like its own sort of episode and takes place like, you know, if it takes the spot of 23 and then 23 takes the spot of 24. Who knows, you know what I mean? If I have time, then maybe I'll just do like a 3-thing reaction and upload all them at once. We'll see. Regardless, for early access, right, you can get access to, you know, at least 2 new episodes a week early. There's also a full-length tier for $10 a month, so you can get the full-length and not just the 10-minute cut versions. And then there's also the exclusive tier, which gives you access to movie reactions and everything when I start reacting to movies and everything like that. Okay, so yeah, go have a look at those, see what they offer. But that's all I got, so thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.